Lucas never considered himself the jealous type. For the past 6 years, his marriage to Vanessa had been steady, almost predictable. They built a life together, a cozy home, shared routines, and quiet evenings curled up on the couch. But lately, something had changed. It started subtly. Vanessa began spending more time at work, even on weekends. Her phone, once left casually on the coffee table, now never left her side. The warmth in her eyes when she looked at him had dimmed, replaced by a distant, unreadable expression. Lucas tried to ignore it, convincing himself he was imagining things. But the unease grew stronger each day, gnawing at the edges of his mind. The first real crack in his trust appeared one night when he noticed Vanessa texting someone late into the evening. When he asked who it was, she laughed it off, saying it was just a friend from work. Still, the way she quickly turned the screen away from him left a bitter taste in his mouth. Then came the night of their anniversary. He had planned everything: reservations at their favorite restaurant, her favorite flowers, even a small handwritten letter tucked into a card. He wanted to remind her of the life they had built, of the love they shared. But when he got home, the house was dark, and Vanessa was nowhere to be found. He waited. Hours passed. His calls went unanswered. Finally, just past midnight, she walked through the door. "Sorry," she said, barely meeting his eyes. "Work ran late. I'm exhausted." Lucas nodded slowly, studying her. The scent of unfamiliar cologne clung to her clothes. She looked disheveled, her hair slightly tousled, her lipstick faintly smudged. He tried to believe her, but the weight in his chest only grew heavier. The next morning, she left early again. Lucas stood in the quiet house, staring at the untouched flowers and the cold dinner still sitting on the table. He replayed every detail of the night before: the look in her eyes, the way she rushed past him, the way she avoided his touch. Something wasn't right. Determined to find answers, he opened her laptop. It was risky, but he couldn't shake the feeling that the woman he loved was slipping away. Her email was still logged in, and as he scrolled through the messages, his heart pounded. At first, it was just work emails, project updates, meeting reminders. But then he saw it, a thread of messages with a name he didn't recognize. Nathan. The subject line made his stomach drop. "Last night was amazing." Lucas clicked the thread, his hands trembling. "Nathan, I can't stop thinking about last night. You looked incredible. When can I see you again?" Vanessa. "Soon. I'll make an excuse. I miss you." The air left his lungs. He closed the laptop, his heart racing. Every doubt, every late night, every cold glance suddenly made sense. He sat there for what felt like hours, staring blankly at the screen. His mind raced with memories, trying to piece together the moments that led to this. The missed dinners, the distant kisses, the empty "I love yous." When Vanessa came home that evening, Lucas watched her carefully. She kissed his cheek absent-mindedly, barely looking at him. He clenched his jaw, the weight of what he'd discovered settling into his bones. But Lucas didn't confront her. Not yet. No, he had a plan, and Vanessa would never see it coming. Lucas couldn't stop thinking about the emails. Every word echoed in his head, taunting him. He barely slept that night, lying in the dark next to Vanessa while his mind raced. How long had this been going on? Was it just one night, or had their entire marriage been a lie? The next morning, he watched her closely. Vanessa moved around the kitchen with a calmness that made his stomach twist. How could she act so normal? She kissed him on the cheek before heading out the door, saying she had another late meeting at work. Lucas forced a smile, nodding as if he believed her. But as soon as the door clicked shut, he grabbed his keys and followed her. She drove across town, her car weaving through traffic like she had a destination in mind. Lucas stayed a few cars behind, heart pounding. After 20 minutes, she pulled into a parking lot in front of a sleek, modern hotel. His grip tightened on the steering wheel. Vanessa stepped out of the car, glancing around nervously before heading inside. Lucas waited a few minutes, then followed. The lobby was bright and elegant, with polished floors and soft music playing overhead. He spotted her at the front desk, speaking quietly to the receptionist. Moments later, she disappeared into the elevator. Lucas approached the desk, forcing his voice to stay calm. "Excuse me? I'm meeting someone here. Vanessa Riley. Can you tell me what room she's in?" The receptionist hesitated. "I'm sorry, sir, but we can't give out that information." Lucas clenched his jaw, forcing a polite smile. "Right, of course." He stepped back, scanning the elevator panel. The numbers flickered, stopping at the 7th floor. Without a second thought, he pressed the button and waited. The hallway was quiet, the soft hum of air conditioning the only sound. Lucas moved slowly, heart hammering in his chest. He passed each door, listening carefully until he heard faint voices behind one. He pressed his ear against the door. Laughter. Vanessa's laughter. His blood ran cold. He stood there for a long moment, frozen. Then, carefully, he turned the doorknob. It was locked, of course. He considered knocking, confronting her right then and there. But something stopped him. He needed more. Lucas pulled out his phone and snapped a picture of the room number. Then he turned and walked away, his mind already racing with what to do next. That night, Vanessa came home late. Lucas sat in the living room staring at the dark TV screen. She slipped off her heels, running a hand through her hair. "Long day," she sighed. "Yeah," Lucas said quietly. "You get everything done at work?" She hesitated for a fraction of a second before nodding. "Yeah, just a lot of meetings." Lucas forced a smile. "I bet." She leaned down and kissed his forehead. "I'm gonna take a shower." He watched her walk away, his jaw clenched so tightly it hurt. As soon as he heard the water running, he pulled out his phone and stared at the picture of the hotel room door. Tomorrow, he'd get the proof he needed. And then, she'd have no more lies to hide behind. The next morning, Lucas woke before Vanessa. He lay in bed staring at the ceiling, his mind racing with everything he had discovered. The hotel, the emails, the lies. Each memory twisted inside him, sharp and unforgiving. As Vanessa slept peacefully beside him, he felt like a stranger in his own life. When she finally stirred, he forced himself to act normal. "Morning," he mumbled, offering a small smile. "Morning," she replied, stretching. "I've got another long day ahead. Work is just killing me right now." Lucas nodded, biting back the anger rising in his chest. "Yeah, I bet." She kissed his cheek and slipped out of bed, heading for the shower. The moment he heard the water running, he grabbed his phone and opened the photo of the hotel room number. Today, he was getting answers. After Vanessa left for work, Lucas followed her again. This time, he parked across the street from the hotel and waited. He watched as she pulled into the same parking lot, checked her reflection in the rearview mirror, and stepped out. His hands tightened around the steering wheel. Once she was inside, he waited a few minutes before following. The lobby felt colder than the day before, the air too still. He pressed the button for the 7th floor, heart pounding with every passing second. When the doors slid open, he stepped into the empty hallway, the soft carpet muffling his footsteps. He reached the room and stood outside, listening. At first, there was silence. Then, faintly, he heard voices. Vanessa's soft laugh, a man's deeper voice. His stomach churned. He knocked. The voices stopped. Footsteps approached the door. It swung open slightly and Lucas came face to face with Nathan. "Can I help you?" Nathan asked, frowning. Lucas clenched his jaw, pushing past him into the room. Vanessa stood by the window, eyes wide with shock. "Lucas? What are you doing here?" "I could ask you the same thing," Lucas snapped, his voice cold. He turned to Nathan. "I assume you're Nathan?" Nathan looked between them, shifting uncomfortably. I think I'll give you two some privacy." He grabbed his jacket and slipped out, leaving them alone. Vanessa took a step forward. "Lucas, I can explain." "Explain?" He laughed bitterly. "I found the emails, Vanessa. I saw everything. Last night was amazing. I'll make an excuse. How long has this been going on?" Tears welled in her eyes. "It's not what you think. I was lonely. You've been so distant lately. I didn't mean for this to happen." Lucas shook his head. "Don't you dare blame me for this. I gave you everything. And this is how you repay me." She reached for his hand, but he pulled away. "Lucas, please, I love you." "No, Vanessa," he said quietly. "You love yourself." Without another word, he turned and walked out, leaving her standing alone in the hotel room. As he stepped into the elevator, he felt the weight lift from his chest. He deserved better, and he was finally ready to let go. Lucas stepped out into the cold morning air, each breath sharp against his lungs. The hotel door closed behind him, but the sound barely registered. His mind raced, replaying the confrontation over and over. The betrayal, the lies, the way Vanessa had tried to shift the blame onto him. It was all too much. He drove aimlessly for hours, the city passing by in a blur. The weight in his chest refused to lift, pressing down harder with each passing minute. He pulled into a quiet park and sat in his car, staring blankly out the window. The trees swayed gently in the breeze, oblivious to the storm inside him. His phone buzzed. He glanced down to see Vanessa's name flashing across the screen. He let it ring. She called again, and again. Finally, he switched off his phone and leaned back against the headrest, closing his eyes. When he finally returned home, the house felt different, colder, emptier. He stood in the doorway for a long moment, taking in the silence. The pictures on the wall, the furniture they picked out together, the faint smell of her perfume. It all felt like a cruel reminder of the life they once shared. He walked into the bedroom, his eyes falling on the neatly made bed. He sat down, running his hands over the familiar comforter, memories flooding back. The nights they spent tangled in each other's arms, the quiet mornings, the laughter, the promises, all lies. Lucas stood abruptly, crossing to the closet. He pulled open the doors and grabbed a suitcase, throwing clothes inside without care. Shirts, jeans, shoes. It didn't matter. He just needed to leave. He couldn't stay in this house, not anymore. As he packed, he noticed a small box tucked away on the top shelf. He pulled it down, dust coating his fingers. Inside was their wedding album. He flipped through the pages slowly, each photo a dagger to the heart. Vanessa's smile, the way she looked at him, the promises they made. His hands trembled. He slammed the album shut and shoved it back onto the shelf. Downstairs, he grabbed his keys and headed for the door. As he reached for the handle, he hesitated. He turned back, glancing around the house one last time. Then he walked out. That night, Lucas checked into a small motel on the edge of town. The room was simple, almost sterile. He sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the wall. The silence was deafening. He reached for his phone, turning it back on. A flood of missed calls and messages filled the screen, all from Vanessa. "Vanessa. Lucas, please. Let's talk." "Vanessa. I'm so sorry. I never meant to hurt you." "Vanessa. Please come home." Lucas stared at the messages, his heart aching. Part of him wanted to believe her, to forgive her. But the other part knew the truth. She had made her choice, and now he was making his. Lucas deleted every message, then he blocked her number. For the first time in what felt like forever, he slept soundly. The morning light streamed through the thin motel curtains, pulling Lucas from a restless sleep. He sat up, running a hand through his hair, the weight of the past few days pressing heavily on his chest. The silence of the room was deafening, but it was a silence he needed. No more lies, no more pretending. He grabbed his phone and scrolled through the missed calls and unread messages, all from Vanessa. He sighed, setting the phone aside. There was nothing left to say. Lucas spent the day driving aimlessly, the radio playing softly in the background. The city felt different now. Familiar streets seemed foreign, each corner holding a memory he wanted to forget. He ended up at the coast, the salty breeze stinging his face as he stood at the edge of the cliffs, staring out at the endless horizon. His mind wandered back to the night they met. Vanessa had been so full of life, her laughter infectious. They talked for hours, making promises of forever. He had believed every word. Now those memories felt distant, like echoes from another life. As the sun dipped below the horizon, he made a decision. Lucas drove back to the house, his heart pounding. The lights were off when he arrived. He stepped inside, the air heavy with memories. He moved through the rooms, gathering the last of his things. The framed wedding photo on the mantel caught his eye. He picked it up, running his thumb over the glass before setting it down face first. In the bedroom, he found Vanessa's perfume bottle on the dresser. The scent lingered in the air, a cruel reminder of what was lost. He hesitated, then grabbed the bottle and tossed it into the trash. Before leaving, he sat at the kitchen table and pulled out a piece of paper. His hand trembled as he wrote, "Vanessa, I loved you. I gave you everything I had. But that wasn't enough. Maybe it never was. I hope you find whatever it is you were looking for. Goodbye. Lucas." He folded the note and left it on the table. With one last look around the house, he stepped outside and closed the door behind him. The sky was painted with stars as he drove away, the weight in his chest finally beginning to lift. For the first time in a long time, he felt free. As the road stretched out before him, Lucas didn't look back. Lucas drove for hours, the dark road stretching endlessly ahead. The city lights faded behind him, replaced by the soft glow of the moon casting shadows on the empty highway. He didn't know where he was going, only that he needed to keep moving forward. He stopped at a roadside diner sometime after midnight. The place was nearly empty, save for a tired-looking waitress and an old man nursing a cup of coffee at the counter. Lucas slid into a booth, staring at the laminated menu without really seeing it. The waitress came over, her smile kind but worn. "What can I get you, hon?" "Just coffee," Lucas said quietly. She nodded and returned a moment later with a steaming cup. He wrapped his hands around it, letting the warmth seep into his skin. As he sat there, he felt the weight of everything settle over him. The betrayal, the heartbreak, the loss of the life he thought he had. He pulled out his phone, hesitating before unlocking it. No new messages. He scrolled through old photos, vacations, anniversaries, lazy Sundays spent in each other's arms. He almost laughed at how blind he had been. Or maybe he just wanted to believe the lie. Lucas looked up and caught his reflection in the diner window. The man staring back at him looked older, wearier, but there was something else in his eyes now. A quiet resolve. He wasn't the same man who had blindly trusted, who had given his heart so freely. The diner door chimed, and Lucas glanced up, half expecting to see Vanessa. Instead, it was just another stranger passing through, their face blurred by the fog of his exhaustion. He sighed, rubbing his face. The weight in his chest felt a little lighter now, but the emptiness remained. He paid for his coffee and stepped back out into the night. The air was cold, crisp, and for the first time in what felt like forever, he took a deep breath that didn't feel heavy. The sun was rising when he finally pulled into a small coastal town. The ocean stretched out endlessly before him, the waves crashing against the shore. He parked the car and walked along the beach, the sand cool beneath his feet. The salty breeze tangled in his hair, and he closed his eyes, letting the sound of the waves drown out the noise in his head. Lucas wandered along the shoreline, watching the gulls drift lazily overhead. The horizon glowed with the soft hues of dawn, the sky painted in shades of lavender and gold. Each step felt like shedding a layer of pain, the ocean breeze cleansing him in a way he hadn't expected. As he walked, he noticed a small pier jutting out into the water. He made his way to the edge, leaning against the wooden railing and staring out at the horizon. The water shimmered beneath the rising sun, waves lapping gently against the pilings below. For the first time in days, his mind was quiet. No anger, no regret. Just peace. Lucas reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone one last time. He scrolled through his contacts, his thumb hovering over Vanessa's name. He hesitated, then pressed delete. The phone felt lighter in his hand after that. So did his heart. He slipped the phone back into his pocket and closed his eyes, breathing in the salty air. The past was behind him now, carried away by the tide. Whatever came next, he was ready. As the sky turned pink with the dawn, Lucas felt something shift inside him. The pain was still there, but it no longer defined him. He had survived. He had faced the truth, no matter how much it hurt. He stood at the water's edge, the waves lapping at his feet. The past was behind him now, carried away by the tide. For the first time in a long while, Lucas smiled. He was finally free.